How does one change? It's 5 ways: words, images, emotions, environments, and experiences. A lot of business people, they only grow as far as their environment.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Dawson. Welcome back to another episode of the B. Dawson Show, where I interview thought leaders, business owners who are crushing it or changing the world. And today I have a very special guest with me. Stormy, why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, and where you came from?
All right, so my name is Stormy Wellington. Many people call me Coach Stormy all over the world. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am a network marketer that happens to be a businesswoman at the same time. I've written 3 books. I'm actually the #1 income earner in health and wellness for network marketing. I have my own show coming on Lifetime, premiering on March 17th.
Can we just take a deep breath?
Yeah,
Boom.
deep breath.
Say that again.
I have my own show that's going to be premiering on Lifetime on March 17th called $1 Million Hustle.
Yeah.
I have my own CBD line. I have my own skincare line, my own activewear line. And I like to say that I'm every woman.
So the listeners understand. She's a badass. Now tell everybody again, your #1 income earner. That stat you just blew through there, because for you say it all the time, but I want to make sure our listeners or our watchers actually hear what you said.
So I got into network marketing, after working a customer service job, making $13 an hour. And I got into network marketing actually 13 years ago. And I just became a notorious hustler. And within the last 2 years, I actually acquired the respect of being the #1 income earner for health and wellness in the profession of network marketing.
Wow, good for you! Woo-hoo-hoo.
I'm very proud. Coming from where I come from, that is not what you would expect to be my narrative, but it is, and I'm grateful.
And good for you, boy. I've had an opportunity to see you on in our community, 10X community. And you just carry so much power just when you walk in the room. I mean, I see a lot of people, and I meet a lot of people that have done a lot of things, but you carry a sense of strength with you. And it's something that all of us have deep respect for. You can, people that have done things and overcome challenges, they don't need to tell people, because you can feel it.
Wow.
And you are one of those people. And so your story, you were sharing your story with us yesterday with John Maxwell and myself. And I don't know how much of your story you talk about, but it was unbelievably compelling. So any parts of your story that you do publicly talk about, feel free to go into some of that, because it's just amazing what you've been able to do, what you've overcome,
yes.
And where you are right now. So when I listen to someone like you go through your struggles and then talk about your successes and accomplishments, it makes me feel like everyone else has just lost their excuses.
Yes. Yesterday changed my life, by the way. I want to tell everybody, and you publicly, I've been reading John C. Maxwell books since I was 16. I dropped out of school in the 9th grade, never went to college, ended up going back to get my GED. And a friend of mine told me, hey, let's read Think and Grow Rich. And after reading Think and Grow Rich, I just became addicted to wanting to grow. And I remember picking up a book about leadership, and it happened to be The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Why did I care to learn about leadership at 16? It's because I knew that I did not want to go back to college. Or not back. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go to school. I never really liked school, to be honest with you. I just felt like the teachers were teaching you to be employees.
Yep.
And I just did not want to live on 30, 40, 50,000 a year on income. And so I remember reading the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and saying to myself that I'm going to be a leader one day. And reading the book, and yesterday being able to share my story with him was like manifestation for me. Here I am, 41. I'll be 42 in like 15, 16 days. And to have manifested that conversation, Natalie was asking me in the car, like, man, you just told him your whole story. Like, you weren't afraid? And I'm like, I was a little afraid, but I feel like there's nobody that has my story. I feel like, when he talked about failure and success is synonymous for me, it was like, wow, that's true, to use them together. And so I found myself just even this morning feeling even more proud of my past failure. So let me share with you a little bit about when I talk about past failure.
Let's do it.
So I come from a mother and a father that sold drugs. My mom was a serious drug dealer. She sold crack cocaine and she sold weed. And my mom was born in Jamaica. And I remember my youngest years of being 7 years old, my mom would travel to Jamaica and Curacao and all these countries. And I never knew when she was coming back. And one particular time, my mom went to Jamaica and she left for so long that I ended up going into foster care. And so my brother and I were in foster care. We were beaten. We were abused. I was sharing with Natalie this morning that I remember being molested so much that I had to figure out how to stop the men from touching on me at 7 years old.
Wow.
And I started to, act like I was having a bad dream, and that became my defense. So I would just go crazy to get them off of me. And that was at 7 years old. My brother and I were both in foster care. And I remember my brother literally just was recovering from third-degree burns. And the lady who owned the foster care facility would beat him with water hose, like literally a green and yellow water hose. And I'm 7 years old, and I'm the one that had to rescue us from that. So since I was 7 years old, I just been relentless. I've been resilient, and I felt like I was the toughest one. I had to be the one to protect my family. I had to be the one to protect my brother. I ended up, obviously getting out of foster care, and my mom came back to get us. But it was like a cycle because she didn't know anything else to do but sell drugs. So my mom spent probably 20 years of her life in and out of prison, and because of it, I had no mom. So when most kids was at the dinner table at 10, 11 years old, I was either at someone's house hoping that they would feed me. I was, either in foster care. And at 10, 11 years old, I would have to steal food out of the grocery store. I would have to steal clothes. And then I end up getting pregnant when I was 15. A child shouldn't be having a child at 15. But I dated someone that was 18, and I felt like, hey, if I get pregnant, he has to take care of me and the baby, so that would be a little escape for me. So I had my first child at 15. After having my child, I couldn't go back to school. I didn't have anybody to babysit him. So I ended up having to become like a real professional shoplifter. I ended up getting involved in scams. I used to write bad checks. I used to steal people's identity. I used to be a stripper. I would do anything that I had to do to survive. And it was because I had no choice. I didn't have any examples. Like, my goal now is to be the example, because a lot of people from my community, we don't have examples. We have drug dealing fathers. We have drug dealers as baby fathers. We have mothers that are uneducated, So I had to figure it out. And so dropped out of school, in the 9th grade, had my first child at 15. My first time in the strip club, I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Our water was off at home. I remember coming home from school. My mom told me she was coming right back. Right back was 3 months.
Wow.
By the time we got to the second month, there was no father, nobody. So no water. I would go to the gym to take a bath at school. I would, take gallons of water to take a bath at home. And I remember one day my friend invited me to a strip club, and I was 13. I imagine, I know you have kids. Imagine your daughter 13. And I went to the strip club, and that was my first time having an experience where I made $600 in the club. A man walked up to me. I can remember I had on a black suede skirt set, and my hair was cut short. And I always was more mature, than my age. And he says, hey, if you lift up your skirt, I give you $600. And at first I went crazy, like, you crazy, But then I thought about my water being off at home. I lifted that skirt up, got those $600, and went home and turned my water back on. And so this is like where I come from. I've been someone that had to figure out how to take care of myself, how to fend for myself, since a young age. And so ended up, becoming a stripper for a while. And then after I had my daughter when I was 19. And I did not want my daughter to think that that was what you were supposed to do. And I remember after giving birth to my daughter, I was like, I'm never going to do this again. I didn't know what my escape was going to be, how I was going to provide for her, because when you have no education, you can't get a job. And the jobs back then paid $7, $8 an hour. How am I going to take care of 2 kids, pay rent, pay light bill, put food on the table with $1,500 a month? You know what I mean? So fast forward, I end up, becoming a TSA agent. I used to be at the airport frisking people and checking bags. And to be honest with you, as a TSA agent, that's when I saw success. I saw it. Like, I would see people come through the airports with their suits, and I would see women come through the airports, and I would be inspired by what success looked like. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I didn't quite know. I thought success was, a teacher, a doctor, attorney. And I was like, dang, how am I going to do that? I'm not going to go back to school, right? But I ended up going to Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Atlanta, Georgia. I was about 22 years old. And that's when I saw Black success. Like, I come from Miami. There's a lot of Latino successful, a lot of Caucasian successful people. But when I moved to Atlanta and I saw Black people with Mercedes and Benzes and houses, that's when I said, okay, Stormy, now you can think and grow rich. Now you can tap into those 21 irrefutable laws of being a leader. And I started networking. I started getting out my house, and I started to meet people. And I ended up getting into the industry of network marketing. And network marketing is what really changed my life. And that's when I started the narrative of becoming a leader, of developing, you know, my leadership skills and turning my hustle into a business. And boom, fast forward, Stormy Wellington started to grow.
What an incredible story. I mean, it really does take the excuse away from people that talk about how hard it is to start a business. My guess is that, you know, if people were at especially in the business of network marketing, because so many people are afraid to talk to people, and they're afraid to go out and connect, and then they're afraid to go out and ask for anything. So that fear paralyzes them, and then they can't succeed in that business. And then there's a lot of business owners that start a business, but they're equally afraid to go try to talk to customers. They want somebody else to do it. And in your case, you were like, I got to go all in on this. Like your fear was driven. Your fear was the fear of not doing it.
Exactly. You know, I believe that there's a fear that makes you stop, and there's a fear that makes you go. If I let fear cripple me, I didn't have any options. What was I going to do? So I'm inspired by the things that make me afraid, because normally the things that make me afraid is the things that I should do. Because if you're afraid of it, more than likely you're afraid because you don't understand it, and those are the things that could take you to the next level. So I learned even back then, like, okay, I didn't really have options. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have, if I wanted to be successful as an entrepreneur, I didn't have any entrepreneur skills. I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know anything about LLCs, you know, websites and all of those things. So for me, the easiest route was to get into network marketing, to meet people that I could learn from. I knew at an early age, I needed somebody to be a mentor and a coach. You got to remember, you know, where I come from, we were taught to have idols. Who do you idolize? Not who's your mentor, who's your coach. We didn't have mentors. My mom didn't have a mentor. My brother and sister didn't have mentors, you know. We had, who do you idolize? Who do you want to be like? So I felt like when I saw network marketing, for me, I saw people that was willing to help me because they had a vested interest in me being successful. And even now, to this day, fast forward, I like people that have a vested interest in my success. They need for me to win so they can win. I think that's the best business model. Yep,
100%. That's. We talk a lot about collaboration as the new currency.
Yes.
I think the problem with most business owners is the exchange between them owning the business and then paying an employee, and there's no real collaboration there. It's like,
yes,
I expect you to do something because I'm paying you. And that's what breaks businesses, because there's no enthusiasm. There's no personal desire to grow and bust through, because you can't win when the business is winning if it's not orchestrated and constructed right. And that's what I love about the whole network marketing business, is that it allows people to develop at whatever level that they have the courage to develop. So now fast forward, you overcome all that. I'm assuming you're taking care of your brother. Was he younger than you said?
No, he's actually 40. He's 46. I'm 41.
Okay,
he actually still lives with me. He lives with me now. He's actually like one of my housekeepers.
That's awesome. But you've been able to take care of your brother for all that time.
And my father lives with me. My mom, I took care of her until she took her last breath. And I started in network marketing. But now I'm a businesswoman that happens to be in network marketing, not a network marketer anymore.
Yep, I've seen that. I see that in you, the power that you have as a businesswoman, and I think a lot of people are like, how do you become? Because I talk to so many people like, how do I become a business person? Well, there's evolutions, there's stages, and you got to have courage.
Yes.
And in your case, you have courage and resilience.
Yes.
And I think when you can put courage and resilience together, then all of a sudden magic happens.
Yes.
So as such a powerful businesswoman, because I talked earlier about that strength when you come in the room, you carry that with you. And obviously it was developed over a long period of time of survival.
Yes.
What would you say to other business owners who are struggling and they're blaming everybody for the struggle? but they're not willing to take that next step of courage to get what they want.
You know what? For me, it's like knowing what do you really, 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 really like. It's layers. What do you want? Then what do you really, 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 really want deep down inside? For me, like, it is so important that I am the example for the culture. And at all costs, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. It's like a burning desire for me to show my community that it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. I would say that, how does one change? I teach on this. It's how does one change? It's 5 ways: words, images, emotions, environments, and experiences. A lot of business people, they only grow as far as their environment. And sometimes we think we know, but we don't know what we don't know. Like literally just yesterday, I learned so much, that I didn't know that I didn't know. And so putting ourselves in the right rooms and being around people that's more developed than you are, that knows more, that understands more, that has done more. You got to have mentors. You got to have coaches. You cannot be afraid to invest. And if you know that your business model or your product or your service adds value, then I believe it's your responsibility. I mean, you choose to be an entrepreneur, right? If you want to work, then just go get a job. Quit being an entrepreneur and go work for somebody. But if that's not what you really want, now it's like, what price are you willing to pay? What sacrifices or quote unquote risk are you willing to take to really pursue and live out what you see for yourself? And so, like, for me, there's no limit to what I'm willing to do. Like, I'm more afraid of not becoming what I see myself becoming than the risk of what it takes to get there. Like, I must become what I see. Like, my goal this year is $60 million. Do I know exactly how I'm going to get it? Nope. But it is on my screensaver. Everybody knows it's all around my house. And because I put that in my mind, I say that successful people create conditions in their mind in order to succeed. I can't tell you. My biggest year was $20 million. And I did that just, being ambitious and having hustle and heart and figuring it out along the way. But now I realize, and even yesterday, like, it hit me when you said, okay, from 100,000 to 3 million is this. From 3 million to 8 million is this. Like, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. But if you want to break through the barriers of, 3 million or from 20 million to 45 million, what are you going to do to get it? That means every level requires another layer. So I just believe that you have to continue to surround yourself with people that have what you don't have. And, a friend of mine said to me years ago, you got to be willing to give up a slither to deliver. Yeah. If you want me to deliver, I need to get a slither. You know what I mean? Yeah. So everybody, it's like, what's in it for me? Everybody's tuned in to WIIFM. And so I'm now in a place where I'm not just sitting behind a computer. I know artificial technology is taking over. I know about the metaverse. I know about crypto and NFTs and all of this. But you know what? Technology can never replace the human spirit. So for me, I'm getting out. Me connecting with you and Natalie and Grant and Elena, like, that's a part of me putting myself where I see myself. I see myself with an empire like 10X, And so if I see myself with it, it's like, Stormy, what are you going to do to get it? You could talk about it all you want. That's cute. But it's like, okay, can I see? And I need to do the things necessary to trust myself. Like, how can you trust that you're going to get something when you're not doing the things that's necessary to get what you say that you're going to get? And I think one of the worst things that entrepreneurs and business owners do is that we don't do the things necessary. Like, what is necessary? Like, your best isn't good enough because your best got you where you are. So now you can only take yourself as far as you can take yourself. So now who's going to stretch you to that next level? So we cannot be afraid to give up a slither to deliver. And to put ourselves in environments with people that already have, not wishful thinkers, but who has what you want. And whatever you got to do to get their attention. Listen, when I invested $5 million in Cardinal Capital, it was challenging.
You got everybody's attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was the plan.
Yeah. And you and I are a lot alike, because when I invested, I was like, okay, these guys don't know me. I can go in and try to talk to Grant about partnering and all this stuff, but why don't I just put a big ass check in Cardone Capital and have them go, who's that guy?
Exactly.
Because now law of curiosity, John Maxwell law, kicks in, and he's like, I want to meet that guy.
Exactly.
And then it opened the door for me to have a conversation, and here we are with a business that'll do $75 million in its third year. It's just and so you are 1,000% right. what you did by putting yourself in play is exactly what Natalie and I did when we went to that Growth Con in 2019. We didn't know anybody. We knew, though, if we didn't show up, we weren't going to meet anybody.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of, I don't know what it is. I think that we have, I don't know where I get this from, but the spider monkey syndrome, like your hand is clenched so tight, nothing can't get out, nothing can't get in. Like, so you're saving for what? And then you save it, and if you're saving, it's getting depleted. And if you're not growing, you're dying. So now what's going to happen? So it's like wishful thinking, and being tight with your money is not going to work, or tight with your mind and not being open is like a problem. So I'm just excited about everything. I feel like for me to even be here with you on the B. Dawson show, and to be in y'all beautiful 20,000 square foot empire, and to see your house, and to know that y'all notice me, it's like, okay, Stormy, you doing something right. You're putting yourself where you see yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we set up a private luncheon for you with your mentor.
That was everything. I didn't even know,
that?
but I didn't even know that you did. You know
you.
that listen, I wrote a book. It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Recruitment. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if he tried to sue me, at least he sees me.
That's 100% true. When you told him that, he chuckled. And then he said it again. He goes, how amazing. Did you guys hear that she wrote that book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Recruiting? He goes, brilliant. That's what he said when he walked down the hallway.
Wow. Yeah, people were like, he's going to sue you. And I remember saying, well, good. That means he sees me.
Yeah, you know what? The fact is it actually delighted him. You know, the thing about, if somebody's going to sue you, right, then they got problems. Because otherwise they should look at it as a compliment.
Yes.
And John looks at it as a compliment. First of all, he was just so impressed with you and your story. Isn't he the most remarkable guy?
He's so humble. And when he said, and it flattered me, it made me even think about myself, like, you could copy me all you want, because by the time you copy me, I'm on to something else anyway. Yeah. And that's flattering. That's a great perspective. But that's when you live in abundance. You're not scarce. It's a great place. Yes, he's an amazing person. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, of course.
He gave me his phone number.
I know he did.
I'm not going to use it until this time, okay?
There's only two of us that have his phone number.
Wow.
He doesn't give his phone number out very
often.
He
thought about it for like 30 seconds.
He thought about it, and I was like, is he really going to do it?
He did it.
And then he did it. I saw him.
That makes me feel like I'm doing something right.
Yep.
It does, and I'm just, I just feel like what's about to happen to the culture, because of little old me, like, I feel like I'm responsible for changing the entire narrative for the Black community, and it's about me putting myself around people like you, who is smarter than you guys are smarter than anybody that I know, and I don't say that like to be like weird or facetious or anything like.
And I would say to you, you've got more courage than almost anybody I know.
Wow, did you hear that? That is amazing. Coming from you, I don't have more courage than Grant. Grant is crazy.
Yeah, Grant has courage, but you for everything that you endured to pull yourself to where you're at, and to be in the position you're in. I've had to study and work with business owners and entrepreneurs now for 30 years, right? So I know what real courage looks like. And I know what pretending to be courageous looks like.
Wow.
You've got real courage and resilience.
Yes.
And I think when you have those two qualities, it's such a great example. And you've taken away, so here's the most important thing about being a thought leader, right? The most important thing about being a thought leader is that you've taken away all the excuses from everyone else.
What does that mean, to be a thought leader?
Well, so when you think about pulling yourself out of the strip club, pulling yourself out of selling or stealing stuff,
yes,
or scamming, when you pull yourself then into, I'm going to get a legit job at the TSA. I'm going to study these people that are coming through here. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on. I'm not just going to show up at work, be a victim, hate my life, go home. I'm going to actually take baby steps and pay attention.
Yeah,
right?
Pay attention.
And absorb. I could just visualize you watching people, not judging them, but learning from them.
Yes.
Right? So that's a thought leader. It's somebody who's not letting somebody else control how they think or what they do. So the hardest and the most strength from my opinion is the hardest position to be in as a thought leader, because you have to think entirely different than everybody else.
Okay.
And the world's made up, and you mentioned earlier, to try to bring you to everybody else's thinking.
Yes.
So Now you're a thought leader. You're like, I need to break through. I need something bigger. Then you go to Atlanta and you're like, I'm paying attention. I'm seeing all this. I'm registering, right? So now what's happening? So when I talked yesterday about law of curiosity and intellectual curiosity, intellectual ignorance and intellectual arrogance is a negative on the balance sheet. Intellectual awareness and intellectual curiosity is a plus on the balance sheet. Well, you have both of those because you're curious, you're watching, and you're aware of what's happening. To me, those are thought leaders.
Okay.
When you're aware and you're curious because you're asking questions, you're absorbing data and information, and you're thinking about something. You're not just going through the motion and being.
Okay.
So then you take action, and that next step that you took takes courage, and then you probably you get beat down a little bit. But the thought that you mentioned, like the fear of not getting there, was greater than the fear of what you had to go back to.
Exactly.
And so that takes resilience. And when you have courage and resilience and you can weather the storm and you can just keep pushing until you get to where you see yourself.
Exactly.
That's a thought leader.
Okay, thank you. I never heard
Because
that.
you created that thought.
Okay.
And what you just described to me about where you're going next is still operating on the right side of the balance sheet. Intellectual awareness, intellectual curiosity. I'm going to 40 million, to 60 million, to 100 million. You'll see it. I know you go and you put yourself in a state where you see it as though you've done it.
Yes.
That's what thought leaders do. Because if you don't do that, how do you create?
Well, I never heard that before. I just learned that, thought leader.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't feel like there's a lot of thought leaders in my community. Like you see actresses and entertainers and singers and Beyonce and Jay-Z and Rihanna and you know, somebody who married a football player or a basketball player. So as a black ordinary woman that made her life extraordinary, for me, the more I climb, the further I go, the more that I get to change the narrative. For us, like, you can be a thought leader. You could grow into this person without waiting on, like, don't wait on somebody to give you something. Don't wait on a handout. Don't become a victim. Don't become a worrier. Like, a lot of people worry about things and they waste a lot of energy and time on things that can't serve them. And for me, it's like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like, there's nobody that's going to come save me, and nobody's going to hand me a check for $50 million and say, you're cute, you take great pictures on Instagram, here's your check, you know. So it's like, what do I have to do? So I want to ask you this question. Like, sure. When you see a person like me who is just moving, really, like, I think I know what I need, but then I don't know what it's called all the way.
Yeah. Like,
I asked this guy here that was putting my microphone, like, what is your job title? Because I don't know. Like, I want to do a podcast. I have a room like this in my office. I don't really know what I'm going to all the way do with it, who's going to operate it. But I'm just really going and figuring things out along the way. Were you ever that person? How did you become so astute?
Because I was always the person that was willing to take the action even if I didn't know what I was doing. And then I got beat up and I figured it out. You know, and I had, the best thing I ever did was move to Atlanta, because I moved there away from my family, and I had a boss, and I found out he was a 67-year-old little Italian guy. And I found out there's a couple girls that worked at the office, so I found out he was doing some things he shouldn't be doing. So he preempted me saying anything or going to like a national sales meeting and saying anything, because the headquarters was in Minneapolis. So he fired me. Took my car, took my keys, took everything. And so I remember I was 20 years old and 19 years old. I remember walking home with $4,000 of credit card debt from being on the road, him taking everything away from me. And I walked into a little bank, and there's this lady, and she said to me, I said, I have to pay this credit card bill. I can't even believe what she did. I think back to that moment. She was like, look, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'll give you a credit line and I'll co-sign it. Can you imagine walking into a bank and some lady doesn't even know who you are? And she co-signed that $4,000, and they put it on a 18-month payoff.
Wow.
And so I went home, and my buddy Larry. So I told you when we were privately talking, I was saying, like, I moved from Oregon, and there's not very many black people in Oregon. So I moved to Atlanta, and all my friends are black, and I had so much fun. Well, Larry lived next door to me, and he was my buddy. And he says to me, he ran like shoe stores and stuff. So Larry says to me, so what are you going to do, dude? He didn't say dude. He said, what are you going to do? Because you don't have any work. He says, you can come work at my shoe store. I'm like, no, Larry, I gotta do something bigger than that. So he says to me, well, look, I got a buddy. And that's what I loved about the community, is the hustle.
Yes.
He's like, I got a buddy, and we're slinging literally the back of cards going to businesses around universities. So we'd all get in a car together, go somewhere. We'd walk around the universities, and we'd sell discounts on the back of a plastic card. And you can only put like 20 businesses on there, and they'd say like 15% off or 20% off. And you go up to a local store, and you'd say, hey, if you want to buy the back of the card, if you want a little spot, it's $250. If you want a big spot, it's $500. Well, we just traveled around as a group to all the colleges and sold these plastic cards, and then we go give them to the college, and the college would then give them to the kids. And so I was like, this is unbelievable. I was making more money, and then at night I was hustling pool with them. So I was making more money. I lived in Jimmy Carter Boulevard in Norcross. Yeah, I mean, 19 years old, no parents, nobody telling me what to do. Buddies all have cars, so we're all driving to these universities, selling airspace on the back of these cards. And I'll never forget something that happened on Jimmy Carter Boulevard. I was like, I should sell some cards here, even if it wasn't by the university. And so I was walking down the street, and I'll never forget the first Blockbuster video store that was built. This thing looked like a castle on the corner. And right across the street was this video store rental place. Remember the little tiny ones where you go in and they have like 6 tapes and stuff? And I remember thinking, that guy is completely screwed.
Yes.
I remember thinking that. Well, what was funny is, as I started watching Blockbuster get bigger, I started wondering, what happens to the little guy?
They go out of business.
They go out of business. And then who's helping the little guy? So all this stuff about, well, maybe I should help the little guy. Maybe I should figure out about business. And so it just spawned all this. But I was hustling pool and selling on the back of cards. And about a year later, the company called me and said, hey, can we talk to you? And I said, sure. And then they found out, right? So like, why didn't you say anything? I said, well, you let the guy fire me. So like, I whatever. So then I moved to Minneapolis, and that's where I started my career. But the point is, I had North and South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Eastern Florida. I had never been to the South in my life, and I did that for 2.5 years, living out of a car.
What?
And I'm telling you, it's the greatest experience, because I didn't have anybody telling me where to go or what to do. I had to find my own way around. I had to use an atlas. But that, in my mind, it just imprinted that I can take care of myself. I don't need somebody taking care of me. So when I quit my job with a newborn, making $150,000 a year, a brand new baby, a 2.5-year-old, because I didn't want to be an employee anymore, I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, I know how to make money. So quit that job, and that was my foray into being an entrepreneur. So when I think about my journey, like it's something that you said, like, it's scarier going backwards. I think that's, for me, that, like, I'm not going back to Corvallis, Oregon. Right. I'm not going to college.
Right.
I'm gonna, if anything, I'm gonna fail forward.
Yes.
And figure this shit out.
Yes.
And I just got banged along the way. Like, when I tried to do anything, no. And I just kept hustling. And I think that hustle came from
in Atlanta
working with those guys. They were just like, you're gonna get told no. Like, just go to the next store. Just keep going. And so it was for me. It was an unbelievable experience. Did you ever go dancing at Sneakers?
I never heard of that.
Yeah,
place.
So that was the place. They always used to take me to the Sneakers.
Yeah,
in
Atlanta?
A nightclub. Yeah,
they probably changed the name. Probably. Is it Strokers?
I don't know, but man, it was the scene. I can tell you, I had fake ID. I had my brother's ID, and these guys knew how to have fun, and the scene was amazing there.
So I'm glad you shared that, because I wanted to know, like, why are you so passionate about business owners? And that story I needed to hear that. So I think we probably all needed to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed to know, because just watching what you all have done, and, even before I connected with you, my friend Annetta bragged on you all. Elena, she talked about, when you all came into their life, that you really changed everything about their businesses and everything. And so to know that your passion comes from you seeing the Blockbuster in a small business, that's where it started, that was important. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have really had the joy of working with thousands of business owners. I love people. That's for me. I love thought leaders or people who are willing to have courage.
Wow.
Or people who show that they're resilient.
Yes.
Those people, somebody mess with you or Grant or Elena, I'm the first one in the game messing with them back. Like,
wow.
I'm all in for someone that I see that's all in.
Yes.
Especially when I know their heart. Because we need each other. There's less of us than there are the others.
Yes, yes.
And so for me, being in this business, and we've talked a lot about the cultural aspect, and I just don't have a lot of experience thinking about, because I work with every race, every color, every religion, people all over the world, and you know what my attractor factor is? If they have courage, if they're a thought leader, and if they're resilient, I actually don't see anything else. What I see is so many people that don't have it, I don't even see them. Like you could be anybody on this planet. Shit, you could be an alien for all I care. You can come from outer space. If you had those qualities, I got you.
Wow.
If you don't, I'll try to help you, but if you're unwilling to be helped, then I don't see you at all. I don't care what you look like, what you do, how rich you are.
Wow.
Like, I don't want to spend time with those people. And so partnering with Grant and Elena was just, it was like getting sucked up into this vortex of 10X thinkers. And I absolutely, I can't imagine a better home for me or Natalie than the 10X community, because we get to meet people like you.
Yes. Wow. Thank you.
And we would have never probably met if we were both wandering around on our own accord.
Yes. Yes.
So to me, I love this because I love you.
Wow. Thank you.
And that's what I want more of that.
Yes.
And Grant wants more of that. His heart is there as well.
I know. Thank you. It's good. You know, I was thinking about when you said that, even in class yesterday, I could see your frustration a little bit with the guy that kept going back and forth. I said, yeah, Brandon doesn't like this. This guy's complaining too much. He's getting a little perturbed with this.
Yeah, and I wanted the room to see it.
I know, and I saw it, and I needed that, because I feel like I've done that before, but to see it in somebody else, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, they dig in, and they're so trying to find a reason to be right. How does somebody complain when they go from 1 million to 3 million going to 5? Where's the complaint in there? It's just so disconnected from reality. Well, the complaint is the resilience. He's starting to give up the resilience. It's getting hard.
I never saw it before, though, till yesterday, and it doesn't look good. And I could imagine how the employees or just the team feels to see that from the visionary, the supposedly thought leader.
Can you imagine working for that person?
No, that was very impactful for me yesterday.
And that's why I let it go as long as I did. And I knew he wasn't going to be able to help himself, but to come back and try to justify it. So I knew there'd be another shot at it.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I just refuse to accept that an adult who wants to accomplish something in life is going to start nickel and diming and trying to find fault in everybody else for why they can't get it.
Thank you. I needed that yesterday. I wanted to tell you that too.
Yeah.
I saw it. And when you said, do you guys see that? I saw, oh, shit. Yeah, I do. Don't say that. But I saw it. So thank you for that, by the way.
It's good to have those examples. Mm-hmm. But what's even better is examples like you. And that's why I love this podcast. You know, what's been interesting is before I had you on, I was trying to figure out I've had a buddy that sold his business for $500 million. So, you know, stuff like that. I've had some really big successful stories. My favorite podcasts are with people who've scrapped their way through, nobody helping them, got up, dusted shit off, got back up, took another swing at it, and just kept going and going, because I can relate to those people. Even though when I look at how I was raised and everything, I had so many advantages. I had loving parents. I had successful entrepreneurial parents as an example. But I gave all that up and said, I'm going to go control my own life. And so that's where I disconnected from all that and decided to be my own person. It's just like John Maxwell said when you explained your story. Then when you come in and explain your story, I'm like, man, I didn't do anything.
Wow.
I like to do what you did. Just my last podcast was a couple sisters. Their parents came over here from Vietnam, They got here. Their teeth were horrible. They had no money. They were barefooted running around town for a year, same thing, trying to beg and get food and that's how they landed here. Now they own an $8 million dental business I've been helping them run.
Wow.
And the reason they became dentists is because their teeth were so bad. They were so embarrassed about it that once they got older, they were like, we should fix all the teeth from all the people that come over from Vietnam.
Look at that.
And so 2 sisters, and they got 3 locations now. I started working with them.
Was she there yesterday?
Yes.
I remember her.
Janice.
The lady behind
Janice me. And, God, I always get it screwed up because Janice is the one I did the podcast with. So they are such amazing people. But see, their story, I love their story. And I have story after story after story of people who demonstrated that resilience. And so when I get to talk to you, it's just like, God, I want to get her on the podcast. I want people to hear what you went through and where you're at, because you just eliminated any of those bullshit excuses that you sat downstairs yesterday and heard someone throw out on the table.
You know what? It's interesting. If even hearing you say that, it's like it's my story, and I'm so out of it. Like, I see people getting emotional even when I share it, but it's for me. It's like, thank you for that. I'm grateful for that. If I didn't go through Section 8, if I didn't go through food stamps, if I didn't go through WIC, if I didn't go through, I filed bankruptcy when I was 18. I told your wife this. My mother taught me that welfare, Section 8, WIC, bankruptcy was our reparations. She literally hammered that in my head, that you're supposed to get this stuff from the government. You're supposed to file bankruptcy because you're never going to get what they did to us over the last 400 years back. And so I felt like I was winning. I literally was suffering and struggling on Section 8, on food stamps, on government assistance. In my community, like, I would brag about my Section 8 voucher. Like, I got my voucher, you don't. Like, this was just 15 years ago. Like, just 15 years ago, I was on Section 8. I was bragging that I had my voucher and you didn't. That was braggable in my community. Do you understand how serious?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And my mom, though, like, this
Programmed
is the generation.
that into you.
Yeah, she's like, do you understand 40 acres and a mule, you were supposed to get that? You're never going to get it. So when you get over on the government, don't work. Get you a boyfriend who helps you with a little hairdo and your nails. Get your car note paid. Get your Section 8. Get your food stamps. Get your WIC. File bankruptcy when you finally do move. Like, I filed bankruptcy when I was like 18 because I lived for 2 years. When you file bankruptcy, you put everything into bankruptcy and they can't take it. How do I know that? My mom taught me that.
Wow.
And that was like a win for my family. Like, you're doing well. Like, I at the family dinners, it's like, yeah, she's doing good. Do you understand how serious that is to teach that?
Yeah, and then for you to all of a sudden pull yourself to a place where you write a multi-million-dollar investment check into one of our
I didn't
funds.
like it, though. Like, I would say this. A lot of people don't like their life, and they keep it and they accept it as their reality. Like, there's nothing else that you could do. Whatever I don't like if I don't like something, I'm going to change it. Like, if I look in the mirror and I don't like my teeth, I'm going to go fix it. I don't like my body, I'm going to go change it. Like, I don't know where this comes from that we don't like something and we accept it. No, I didn't like how it felt. Even being here. Like, I'm about to open my office, it's on the 6th floor.
It's beautiful, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Miami.
And I'm already trying to figure out, like, okay, how much square feet? Okay, you're like, this is 20,000 square feet. Mine is 4,500. I'm already in my mind like, okay, Stormy, you're going to grow out of this 4,500. And I haven't even opened the door yet. The grand opening ribbon cutting is on Friday. So I think that what we have to do, and everybody that's listening, you have to put yourself in environments with people that are where you see yourself or where you want to be. Or even if you don't even know where you want to be. That's why you got to move around. You got to attend the seminars. Like, I'm so excited. Last year, I went to GrowthCon. I sat on the 2nd row.
Yep.
I bought my $10,000 ticket. I called 5 of my girlfriends. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to GrowthCon, but y'all not coming because y'all too cheap to buy tickets, is what I said, right? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, it's $10,000. Y'all not coming. And I knew they all had the money. They're like, we're going to show you. So they bought their tickets. But I wanted it to be I knew that Grant didn't have a lot of black people in the room. Like, I knew it. Yeah. So I said, good. So 6 of us sat on the 2nd row, and we purposely would stand up and clap. I'm like, get up, get your ass up, get up. Your wife sat behind us.
Yeah,
her ring was blinking.
That's what I said. When you came in with power, though.
But let me tell you, when I was in that room, after the event was over, this is a true story. Everybody was like, you getting a ticket for GrowthCon? I'm like, for what? I'm going to be speaking next year. It was like, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're dumb. And guess what? Guess who's speaking at GrowthCon?
You spoke it into existence, but that's what thought leaders do.
I spoke it, I believed it, but I was willing to do whatever, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I was sharing with Natalie, like, I remember when I wrote that check, like, so many people were like, you're stupid. Like, so many people try to talk me out of it. And then I realized what I ate for lunch yesterday with 3 of my friends is your rent. You get my point? My lunch yesterday was your rent money.
Yep.
These are the things that I have to tell myself in order for me to create that condition in my mind. So not in an arrogant way or a cocky way, but I have to keep reminding myself, Stormy, they don't know any better. It's your job. If you're going to break generational curses, if you're changing the narrative, how are you going to listen to the very people you're trying to change the narrative for? They don't understand. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know that.
That's so powerful.
They don't know, Stormy. So they think they're helping me. They think they're saving me. Right now, if I would have not invested that $5 million, I would have bought a car. I would have went shopping. I've been making at least $30,000 a month off my investment.
Yep.
My accountant said that was the best thing you could have done.
It's true.
With your money.
And one of the best properties in all South Miami.
And then here's another one for you. To be in the vortex and the energy of, I invested in a bank. My money is in a bank. My office is next to a credit union. It's the UBS bank. It's that right there. I understand the energy of my money in that investment, you know? So I told your wife that, like, for the next 90 days, I'm on a money diet. I'm going to save $5 million. I'm going to invest. I'm getting my plane by June. I have places to go. I need to get there and come back. I'm investing another $2 million in Cardone Capital, whatever is available in 90 days. I'm going to put $1 million into marketing, and I'm going to get to it. Like, my show comes out. I'm going on the road. I have big visions, and I know that in order for me to get that $60 million, that's $5 million a month. So I got to make the investments in the things that I need that's going to take me there. I can't just keep talking about it. I need to get there. I need to make the investments. I need to put myself in another category to see that $60 million come to fruition.
And you know, it's crazy when you think about the intellect. So when I talk about thought leader, the fact that you invested in that property with us and you moved into it, because now you're in proximity. You're one of the largest investors into that gorgeous property. You're stationed in the property. That means you're going to see everyone that comes through the property. Like you're no dummy. This is what I'm talking about, thought leader. Like, you're so intentional.
Yes.
And while your friends are telling you don't do it, they don't even connect the intentionality of everything you're doing. But you see it. You just put yourself into the epicenter of proximity.
Yes.
And you made a big enough, bold enough move that everyone will know who you are, including one of the hardest couples to get their attention, which is Grant and Elena.
Yes.
And so you made a huge, bold move, and now you're in the epicenter of everything that's happening. And for those that are listening, that's what a thought leader does. That's what someone with courage does. That's somebody who has resilience, the ability to separate from that money and still have the confidence. You know, I know you said to yourself when your friends are trying to talk you back, I know you said to yourself, this won't be the last $5 million I make.
No.
So they won't make $5 million.
But I also knew that Grant was going to be talking about me a lot.
Yeah.
I know that he talks about me a lot. I don't even have to ask because I'm one of his best stories. He get to tell people about this black girl that said she was going to invest $5 million and she did it. Like, I know he talks about me all the time.
That's right.
I know. So that means he's sending me energy.
That's right.
And he's giving me power every time he talks about me.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here.
and you get to meet one of the most influential people in your life, John Maxwell,
yes.
just because you said, hey, I'm going to fly out. Now all of a sudden you get a free pass to everything that's going on.
Do you know the plane ticket was like almost $7,000?
Wow.
And listen, here's the funny part. Like, I was telling your wife in the car as well, like, that's a very expensive plane ticket, and I could have easily said $7,000. That's too much. I'm like, no. To be able to make that decision to get up and to get here, I could have said that's too much money for a plane ticket to fly, first class from Miami to here. But I'm like, listen, to be able to be in that room, then to be in you guys' home, to be here. Like, everything works out for me. That's what I always
Yeah.
say. Everything always works out for me, and I'm always exactly where I'm supposed to be.
And we had to make that same decision when we were going to GrowthCon. We were like, we just went online and bought $35,000 tickets. We didn't know anybody, and we laughed and we're like, they're going to think this is like somebody is trying to do something, like steal, get a refund, steal money or something, because we didn't know anybody. I just swiped my credit card, and of course they just started bombing me. This was before we went there. But
Your friends?
No, the people at Cardone's, because we didn't know who they were. So the first GrowthCon we went to, we bought those tickets online, bought front row diamond tickets, and they were like $35,000 for the tickets. And I just swiped my credit card, and so I never talked to a single person. Now, Grant's like, I don't think we ever had anybody just go to the website, pay $35,000 for tickets.
But did they see you? Did they speak to you? Was it easy to get the connection?
Well, so what happened is I said to her, you know what? Let's make them wonder who we are. Like, I
Exactly.
wouldn't even take the calls. And then we showed up there, and they were all like, we weren't sure if you were real or not. But they knew who we were, but we intentionally didn't know anybody. Right?
Wow.
So the more intentional you can be. But the point is, for those people there's so many people that come up with the excuses. Oh, that's a lot of money. I'm not going to go do it. But those are the people that never, ever, ever put themselves in play.
Yes.
And the thing I love about you, that I feel like the connection with us is that forward-thinking thought leader. It's like you're strategic.
Yes.
And so the more strategic you get and you put action behind that, the bigger everything gets.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you did here. And that's why all of a sudden we're in proximity of each other, because we have so much respect for that.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
It's what you need to teach. It's what we keep trying to teach. And it's what you saw an example of, a non-strategic thinking. You saw what happens when stress gets on people yesterday. That's why I let it play out. And you see how ugly it actually is.
I needed that. I never saw it like that, especially from someone that's doing so well, who had an increase. But I saw overwhelm too.
Yep, that's what it is. It's really, instead of acknowledging that and saying, I'm overwhelmed, but I am unwilling to compromise where I'm going. See, that's that resilience.
That's big.
So he had courage the first time, but he didn't have resilience, because he made the first move, but now that it's hard, he wants to back off.
Wow.
And I think this is the message to people, is that it's only worth it if it's hard.
Exactly.
Because if it's easy, it isn't actually very interesting.
Exactly. It's the journey that makes it even more special.
And that's what makes you so remarkable,
Thank you.
is you had it so hard and you did not allow it.
So hard. That's another passion of mine. Like, a lot of women don't like to help women in business. I don't know if you know that. Do you know that? Women don't like to help women in business. They become intimidated, jealous, insecure, whatever. So that's my passion as well, is women in business. Most of my help came from men, and it was never flirtate. Like, I never dealt with like sexual harassment. Never. Never. And a lot of my mentors been men, and I never had any inappropriate, never. And it's because a lot of women don't really help women. And my goal as well is to help women in business. I'm a single mom. My mom was a single mom, so that's important to me, to show women that we look better together. Like, me hanging out with Natalie and Elena, and we're all powerful. That's beautiful. Like, that
100%.
is everything. We look better. I look better in the picture with Natalie than I do by myself. Natalie looks better in the picture with me. I look good when I'm standing next to Elena. Elena looks good when she's like, this is my friend. This is my, So that's another thing. I look forward to seeing powerful women come up and own their role. This is what you do. I don't do what you do, Natalie. Help me out. I'm going to help you out. You help me out. Elena, I don't do what you do. Help me out, Elena. So I aspire to break that curse as well of women intimidated and insecure within each other's proximity, and just not owning your role is your role, and I can help you where you're weak, I'm strong, where you're weak, I'm strong,
And I guarantee you that is Elena's and yours and Natalie's. That is the collective mission, and that's what we love about Grant and Elena, is they're such, when you think of that forward-thinking thought leader, they're so massive in their thinking. And that creates capacity for all of us to come in underneath and grow up and blow up with them, because their thinking is so big, they need support and help from people to do it as well. So it gives us all capacity.
You know, she says to me that I love this. She says, Stormy, I need you to be successful. Like, I don't win if you lose. It hurts me. And she said, you're in a 10X family. She said to me the other day, I was so proud. I felt cute. She was like, we don't want anybody to steal you from the 10X family. You're in the 10X family, and we need you. When you become successful, we become successful.
Yep.
And that's big. You know, that's what I mean when I say vested interest. And the grant even said this to me. I need you to go make more money so you can have more money to invest in cardinal capital. So it just like everything is so connected in the 10X family. And I think that's what more people need to understand, the connection to being connected to people that understand that whatever we can do to serve you, to help you, to elevate you, because now you have more money to invest in 10X 360 or, Growth Con and Cordon Capital. That's such a powerful perspective that y'all have in the 10X family. And I think
and so those same two peoples that tell you need to be successful, you need to continue to be the example, are the same two people that say to Natalie and I, you need to go help her.
Wow. She told me that too. She said, I'm happy you're going out there. She said, and I asked her, I said, I want you to know, I don't want it to be any surprises. I let her know. And she was like, wow, yes, I want you to
Elena, I manage her business case for many of the things that she's involved in, and she's such a remarkable human. Yes. And so, we work very closely together, and as does Natalie, and I'm very excited about some of the things that we'll be rolling out for her mission to support exactly what you said, to support females in business.
Yes.
And be a support mechanism and create value for them so that they can get help. Now, I work with a lot. I mean, Natalie's in the podcast room with us, but I what percent of our businesses are female owned, do you think? 25. Yeah, so like 25% of our businesses are female owned. So I think they're actually easier. It's like when Gary Brecka said they have how many more brain cells women have? More brain cells and more brain matter than men. And it's like when he said that, I'm like, oh, all these women entrepreneurs I work with, they're more resilient than the men.
I think we take more risks. We're not afraid. I think men are sometimes a little afraid.
And they get caught up in their ego.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's awesome. Well, look, I hope that everyone enjoyed. I love Stormy. She's such a great example. You're going to see a lot of her in the 10X family, 10X community. There is no question. And for those of you that are watching this episode of the B. Dawson Show or listening to it, I hope what you're saying to yourself is, I just lost all my excuses to not take action or to dream bigger, because Stormy is the perfect example that if you have her courage, you have her resilience, and you take action, anybody can do it. And so for that, it's a gift to all of us. Stormy, thank you for being on my show.
Thank you so much. Listen, if I can do it, you can do it. That's it, and that's all. Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege.
Of course.